What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, bringing you what could possibly be the new #1 deck, and that is Dogmatika's, formerly known as Dragmas. I wonder why Konami changed the name of that. Anyway, the deck is insane. It's so powerful, and at the end I will show you 3 combos that you can use in this deck to give you varying outcomes. Now, I've put some spicy little touches into this deck, and there is a small engine towards the end of the deck that I'm still not 100% set on, but I will explain each and every single card as I go through. So, please, if you would like to see test times for this video, smash the like button. If this video gets 100 likes, I will do a test time video for you near enough instantly afterwards. But please, like, comment, subscribe, share, as absolutely always, guys. And we'll be bringing you Infernal Nova Knight, so much more support from Rise of the Duelist as well, and I hope you all had a very, very good pre-release weekend. With that said and done, let me take you through what is possibly the now new #1 best deck of Dogmatikas. Now, we start off with, unlucky I couldn't pick up 3, but you start off with triple Dogmatika Philidius the Knighted. This card is actually insane. It's such a good card in the fact that during the main phase, if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, quick effect, special summon this card from the hand, then if you control another Dogmatika monster, you negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. When your Dogmatika monster declares an attack, you can make all Dogmatika monsters you currently control gain 500 attack. That is permanent. This becomes a 3k beta, and if it gets to attack on the next turn, not that your opponent should survive that turn, it's going to go up to 35 as well. This is your main deck boss monster. It is a level 8, but this is 2020 Yu-Gi-Oh! There's very few decks out there that don't actually control monsters from the extra deck. So you're going to be able to special summon this guy with the most ease. It is insane. It is your power play. And the fact that even in the mirror match you just go, okay, cool, turn off. And it's absolutely insane. The only other thing that I can think of is that because it's so late when it comes to the monster from the extra needs to be on the board, that is if you are not going first, you then technically rely on your opponent's face, but you can drop this during your opponent's turn. It is a quick effect, so if they foolishly put a monster from the extra deck, you just go, okay, cool. So, Hattie Firebrax, for example, chain, drop, negate, done, beautiful. You then go on to triple Dogmatika Alicia the Virtuous, sorry. This is your Stratos. This is insane. So can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, is on the field, you can special summon this card from the hand. Woohoo! Free summon. If this card is normal or special summoned, you activate this effect. Add 1 Dogmatika card from your deck to your hand except itself. Now, I can understand why it's actually called Servant of Nadir or Nadir Servant, because my god, if it was a Dogmatika card, it would be brokenly easy to search. So this is your go-getter, this is your starter, and literally the way this works is Ecclesia goes into Maximus, and Maximus will end up getting you into the Knighted. So they all have worked together. Synergy, I mean, who would have thought it from what is possibly the best deck? Anyway, Maximus, love this card. You can banish 1 Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link monster from your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. Send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from their extra deck to the graveyard. You can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. The exact same stipulation is on this card as well, I believe. But the one thing you've got to keep in mind on if you're playing against this, or if you're playing against this, you should be teching in a Cyber Dragon Nova and a Macabre, because what you can do is you send your, I believe, at current, because this makes you send the Nova can then trigger to special summon out the Macabre, and then if you wanted to, like, I don't know, send a Herald, you can search a Sauravis as well, and then you've got a bit more additional protection. You only need 2 because it's so easily searchable and it's not as consistent as the Knighted. Now, I've been playing around with this deck and I was like, oh, do I want to do Necros? Do I want to do Chaos? What do I go with? And unfortunately, Alistair is just too broken in this deck. The fact that on his own he can help burn through the extra deck, or burn through certain elements of the extra deck to then unlock the rest. The fact that he sets up a Macabre is insane. So powerful. I can't, like, I don't want this to be hit, but it's been around for so long and it is a powerful engine that I would not be surprised if some part of the engine, whether it be Meltdown, whether it be Alistair, will actually get hit in the future. If it does, don't worry, we adapt. That is what we do. We learn to adapt people, and that is what we're going to go for. We then got Triple Magician's Souls. Now this actually helps contribute towards a combo that I'll show you towards the end of the video, but it also adds a little bit of draw power as well. So if you've got like double meltdowns, if you've got 2 cards that you're like, okay, I can probably draw better than this, or I can upgrade this, or I've got 2 Servant of Nadirs, it gives you your first turn play and your second turn play. It also sends the light to the graveyard, so it means if you open up this with Alistar, which you'll see at the combo at the end, you don't need to go through as much of the extra deck. It is a nice powerful draw engine. It just needs to send a spellcaster, so it doesn't even need to be limited to darks, which is what makes this so beautiful. So it'll also allow you to send a 9 out of 10, like I'll show you in the combo. I usually tend to send the Knighted purely because Maximus is more important to me, and I search the Knighted out during the end phase anyway, consistently. The last monster is the Saravis, the Ancient and Ascended. This is just a little tech. A massive shout out to Tom who suggested this. So I know it's not like, ooh, brand new tech, but it's a card that I thought is actually really, really good in the sense that you're sending Heralds. Like, you don't have to place Herald, you can put anything else you want into it. So if you take Herald out, you take out the Saravis. But I was like, I want to get as much value from the cards I'm sending from my extra deck to the graveyard as possible. So Herald going into Saravis is probably the best one. And what it does allow you to do is it does allow you to kind of dodge imperms during your turn and also during your opponent's turn on your Winder and your Macabre as well. So very, very useful and helpful on that. Moving on to the spells, Triple Call by the Grave, because you want to make sure that your Servant of Nadir, I did not pull any, sad face, your Servant of Nadir is protected, and as well as your Alistar as well. So, Servant of Nadir or Nadir Servant, send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add 1 Dragma or Dogmatika card, or Albaz, which we don't play Albaz in the deck, from your deck or graveyard to your hand with attack less than or equal to the sent monsters for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Doesn't really matter, because the idea is you're going to activate this at the end of the combos, and then this is going to pretty much set off your Winder combos or your Alkaline combos into Winder. Very, very powerful card. There's a reason it's hard to get hold of. It pretty much just gets everything going, and you'll see at the end this is a 1-card combo to get the deck moving. Then, because, you know, money, Triple Tactics Talent. The reason we put this in here is it needed a draw, like, I wanted a draw engine in here. I looked at Extravagance, but I was like, no, I actually really want to control my extra deck more. I looked at Desires, and I was like, no, I don't want to lose most of my main deck cards. Now, Triple Tactical Talents, it works going first and second, because the chances are your opponent is going to attempt to ash you. Now, this card actually says if your opponent has activated a monster effect. So as long as you do not negate the activation, you are fine. So if you call by the Grave it, I believe it doesn't work because its effects are negated. It's already activated. So I believe that even if you get ashed, if you call by the Grave it, you can still triple Tactical Talents. Now, I could be wrong on that, but regardless, if you get ashed, if you get Veilered, you can then activate Talents and either rip another one from your opponent's hand, so they're playing with 3 cards, or you go, right, I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to draw 2 cards. It's an insane card. It's the reason it is probably the most chased card from Rise of the Duelist. It is broken, it is busted, it is Change of Heart, Pot of Greed, and I keep saying Royal Oppression, but I know it's not Royal Oppression, to rip one from your opponent's hand. It is nuts, it is crazy. If you've got it, play it. If you don't, do not worry. But the one thing this does do is it actually puts the fear. So I've actually taken out hand traps because of the fear of this card. So if I'm going to a fully competitive event, like the Return to the Duelist or Back to Duel kind of events that are coming up, I would fear this card. I wouldn't want to ash my opponent because then they can go, okay, cool. I may not have got the search, but I'm going to be able to draw 2, or I'm going to look at your hand and rip one from it. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. So this card is broken. It is, in my opinion, possibly a future ban card because it has Pot of Greed. It has Change of Heart. Like, how can you have 3 ban cards on 1 card? Like, that's just nuts. But for now, this is the chase card. If you can pick them up, like 50 quid or 50 to 60 quid, do it. Absolute bargain. Do it. We've then got Triple Magical Meltdown plus a single Terraforming because you need to get to Alistar. This can be a bit bricky, but that's where Souls comes in, because Souls can then ditch the spare ones of this, and you turn what could possibly be a spell brick into a spell plus and a spell search. So it works nicely. The one Book of the Law, I have spiced this in because the combo that you will see at the end, Magician Souls plus Alistar, actually gets you into more disruptions, because what it can do is it can turn your Macabre into a Raijin, and on top of that, it will then allow you to trigger to search out the invocation, so you've got turns placed to follow up the next turn to go into a Purgatrio. Or it allows you to be aggressive and turn your Makaba into a Purgatrio, so it gives you a lot more versatility. Double Invocation 2 is more than enough, absolutely fine. If you want to play 3, you can do, but it can get a little bit bricky. Now this next engine does bump my deck after the traps, because the traps are here, up to a 42 card deck. Now I haven't decided on what these are going to be yet. So I went with the Spellbook engine, and the other options are as follows. You cut this down to a 40 deck, you put in 3 Judgment, or you put in 3 Ash Blossom. Now the reason I've gone with this is because it gives me more fodder for my souls. It also allows me to use the Spellbook combo to send any of my monsters from the field to the graveyard, because the majority of my main deck monsters, actually all of my main deck monsters apart from Saravas, are in fact spellcasters. So not only can I technically do souls and then get rid of souls with knowledge and then do the full Alistair combo, plus draw 2. This also allows me to end my board on being able to go, cool, I'm going to get rid of my Dogmatika Ecclesia, draw 2 cards, and those 2 cards can then help me extend or defend. It's entirely up to you. This 5 engine, in my opinion, is up to personal preference. You're either got for a draw power, you're going for disruption power. I wanted to go for a chaos power play because the idea would be that a lot of your Dogmatikas are lights, a lot of your extra deck can be dark, and I also wanted to try and play a Magicalized Fusion into a quintet because again, you're all spellcasters. But consistency wise, through playtesting, this has been the better option, but it is still up for questioning. Finishing off the traps, Triple Infinite Impermanence. This is unnecessary. I'm so sorry guys that even on its third print it's still like a 20 quid card, but Zexal, this deals with it. Getting past Tactical Talents, this deals with it. First turn plays, this deals with it. Second turn plays, this deals with it. Such a good card. It is a reason it is hard to pull. It is a reason it is so expensive, but unfortunately it is a near must. Your closest alternative would be a Veiler, but even then it is so difficult to kind of try and combat other cards. If you're worried about Numerons and you don't have Imperms, then Ghost Ogre. If not, then Veilers are the next best option. Dogmatika Punishment, love this. Love this card. This card is a pop 2. So you target one face-up monster your opponent controls. If you didn't target, ban-worthy card. Should have been a foil, would have loved to see this in Super. Send one monster with an equal or higher level from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster until the end of the next turn. After this card resolves, you can't special summon from the extra deck. Well, my board's going to be a Makaba, plus a Link 2, plus a Dogmatika level 4, or Ecclesia, plus Maximus, plus Knighted, and a Winder. Don't really worry about going from the extra deck. And all this bad boy needs to do is send an Ints, and I'm going to go pop with Punishment, pop with Ints, and your opponent's going to go, cool, so not only have I just been locked out of getting winded, I've also been negated my Lightning Storm because of Makaba, and you're now telling me that you're going to pop 2 cards. Well, you very much. And then the last trap, Shadal Schism. Broken. Like a friend said to me, today, he's like, oh, they're only going for like 5 quid online. I was like, are you sure? This trap is broken. Like, this is busted. You send Apocalypse, you then search out your Schism, you can then discard the Schism if you want to, and I'll show you the combos at the end, and then add it back with Construct, or you just literally go, add, thank you, discard another card, set this, during your turn, Winder, okay, thank you, all from the graveyard as well, like, madness. This card, I mean, this deck is bonkers. On their own, on individual cards, their splashability, not great, like, they have little different elements, but together, absolute powerhouse. Now again, the extra deck, there are a couple of cards that you can go, alright, I'll change this, or alright, let's swap it around. So I'll start off with the cards that are swappable. Link Karibo. This is only in here for Magician Souls, because if I open up Magician Souls and my draws aren't good, but I do get Dogmatikas, I can turn my Magician Souls into a Link Karibo. I've got a monster special summon from the extra deck, special summon my Dogmatikas, banish this card, I'll get this to the graveyard, banish it, and off I go. Like, I've got plays to make. The Alistair, the Invoker of Madness, again, like I said, this is a tech card that I've put in, and following off of him is the Raijin. So if you don't want to play the Book of the Law tech, you've got 2 more spaces, and I'll show you the options that you can put in at the end of this as well. The only other card that I feel that is possibly up for question is Herald of Arclight. because if you don't play the Cerevis, you don't play Herald. So you've got 4 spaces in the extra deck that you can play around with. If you're like, I don't particularly like your techs, or I don't want to try those type of techs, you should definitely try those type of techs because they're really, really good. But these are the other alternatives that you have. The ones that are staple, in my opinion, in the Invoked version is, of course, Almirage and Gardener. You can't guarantee that you're always going to open up Soul, so you do need to be able to get the full combo going, even without it. That is it for the Link monsters. For your Invoked monsters, of course, you've got the one Macabre and the Purgatrio. You know, you want to stop, you want to kill. So they're staples, in my opinion. Then, of course, you've got the Shadow engine. So you've got your Apocalypse that you're going to send to get your Schisms. You've got your Winder because, you know, Winder Pass is broken. And then, of course, you've got the Construct. So the Construct can also be the aggressor if you don't want to go into Winder. And it can also add back the Apocalypse Trap. So you've got 2 uses for Construct in this deck as well. Very, very powerful. Very, very useful. Then, finally, you've got the double Ints. Chances are you're probably only going to go through 1. But if you do have 2 Banishment, being able to pop 4 is broken. You can't pop 4 in the same turn, but just being able to go pop, instant, done, pop, instant, done. It's so good. And then finally, we've got 2 Titanclad, the Ash Dragon. I only pulled 1. I'm not surprised that Bastard, the Ashen Dragon, got changed. I mean, shocker on that one. Basically, this one you send, and then during the end phase, you add a Dogmatika monster during that turn. Or special summon it. It's entirely up to you. Now, you're going to add it to hand because you're going to add your Knighted, and your Knighted is going to be another form of negation or interruption, and plays through that way. You can, and these are very, very fine line options. If you're like, I really want to put this card in here, but I really want to play the spicy text, you can cut this to 1. But the only thing I would say cut it to 1 for would be the Omega, because then the Omega can start recycling all your pieces. This Omega is better for the grind game, so definitely worth putting in against like Eldritch and stuff like that. Now, the other cards you can put in to take out the tech cards, you do have IP Masquerena. Little bit harder to pull off in this build because the reason that the Alistair Invoker of Madness is so good is because you can actually go into Almirage. IP actually needs you to have 2 monsters on board, so you do need to overextend a little bit. But what IP can then lead you into is your Nightmare Unicorn and your Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, so it just gives you more interruptions, but you do sacrifice different forms of interruptions. So if you're like, my opponent is going to spam out like 7 monster effects this turn, then you kind of want to go for something like this. But at this moment in time, when they're so varied, you kind of want to go for an Omni Negate, a Book of Moon, plus other forms of interruption. And I think that is just the best kind of version of this deck, and why this deck is going to be the new #1. Now, Eldritch are the closest to them in my opinion. I think if you go straight away into Adamancipators and you go first, you've got a very, very good chance of winning that game, because Winder, they can't get past it. Simple as that. Whereas Eldritch can operate with 1 monster on board in the form of Golden Lord, and then their traps start going off and dealing damage and causing you issues. So it's not as locked down and as easy as some people think. But the grind game, they can certainly have a battle between the 2 of them, and they're certainly 2 of the top decks. I just think this one, because it can shut out the other engine of Eldritch, that's where it will probably kind of shine a little bit more. But until physical play opens back up for everyone, and you're going to see like pure meta plays, you won't be able to see too much of that. But anyway, for now guys, I'm going to show you 3 combos that you can do with this deck as well. Now, we'll go with the most simplest of combos right now, and that is literally only using Disciple or Nadir's Servant. Now, basically what you do is you activate Nadir's Servant, and this will send from your extra deck to the graveyard your El Shaddai Apocalypse, and then that will then allow you to resolve Servant of Nadir, which will search you out your Dogmatika Elysia, and then your Apocalypse will go off to add you your Shaddai Schism. Now, you're going to discard the Shaddai Schism off of the Apocalypse to the graveyard. Don't worry, you're going to get that back in a minute. Now, obviously, if you have a monster that is special summon from the extra deck, then the special summon of Ecclesia is a lot easier. But we're going to use it as a normal summon right now, just because we're going to go with the absolute brass tacks, the base minimum you need. You then use her effect, she is your Stratos, to search yourself out your Dogmatika Maximus. And then you're going to special summon Dogmatika Maximus by banishing your El Shaddai Apocalypse. You're then going to use the effect of Maximus to send 2 from your extra deck to the graveyard, and you're going to need to send your El Shaddai Construct is the most important, and then you're going to also send your Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon. So by doing that, your El Shaddai construct will then allow you to add Shaddai Schism back to your hand. And then you're going to set this, and then during your end phase, you're going to use Titaniclad Ash Dragon to search yourself out. Where are you? Dogmatika. Always at the bottom. Dogmatika Felilius the Knighted. So basically what you have during your opponent's turn is you have the ability to activate Schisms to bring out a Winder, and then your one special summon will be the Dogmatika Knighted. This will come down to negate a monster effect. And then you've got a 2500 beater, 2200 beater, 3k defender, and a 1500 beater. And not to mention, when all of these attack, your Knighted will gain 500 attack. So this will then go up to 3k, 2k, 2k, and then you've got your Winder on board. So you're pretty much going to win game from there. Now that is the brass tacks. The base minimum you need is that one Servant of Nadir. Now, if you add an Alistair, the Invoker, what do you get to that end board? Well, to that end board, what you end up getting is basically thus. So you normal summon your Alistair, the Invoker. You then get to search out your Invocation. And then you do the standard Alistair combo. So basically what you're doing to this is you're going to add a Macabre. So you're going to add an Omni Negate. You won't have a card to discard in hand, so you do need to get one of that. But you'd basically go, Alistair would link into Almirage, and then Almirage would then link into your Secure Gardener. You then activate the Invocation, bringing out your Macabre by banishing the Secure Gardener from the field and the Alistair from the graveyard. You're then going to use Invocation to put Alistair back to hand, and the Invocation is going to go back to the deck. You're then going to activate Servant of Nadir. This will then send the exact same place. You're going to send the Upperline, and you're actually then going to add the Schisms. Now, from here, it's entirely up to you. You can, if you want to, and this is just the tech that I play, you can get rid of the Alistair. So by getting rid of the Alistair, you don't have a monster negate in hand, unless the rest of your hand is so it's really dependent on that. But what you do is you trade in for a target protection. So I'll show you exactly that. You can still go the same route as I showed you in the first combo by sending your Construct and your Ash Dragon and bring back the Schism. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to send two different cards. So the Upperline that stays in the graveyard, the Nadir would have searched out, try and make sure I put them all in the right place. We'll search out your Ecclesia. You're then going to special summon out your Ecclesia because you control monster special summon from the extra deck. She will then trigger her effect to search you out the Maximus. You're then going to special summon the Maximus by banishing the Almirage instead of the Apocryphal. And then what you're going to do from here is you're actually going to use Maximus's effect again. Now this time you don't need to send Construct because you don't need to add this back. So what you do is you send the Titaniclad Dragon and you send your Herald. Now you've already fulfilled because you didn't have to banish the Apocryphal. So you fulfilled the requirements for Schism. So you're happily safe on that. So by sending the Titaniclad and the Herald, what you then get to do is during the end phase, you will actually add a Saravas the Ancient and Ascendant, and you'll also get to add your Fleer the Knighted Dogmatika. So again, basically what this does in addition to what you had previously is if you want to, you've got the Macabre Negate, the Omni Negate. If you don't, you've also got the protection. So for example, if you were to shotgun this early, and it's one thing I personally advise not to do, is if you wait until they get a monster on board that it can't be impermed. So if you shotgun this early, and they've got an imperm, you can send the Saravas to protect it. It can also protect you if your opponent goes imperm on your Macabre, you can just go, okay, Saravas, and you've still got it live. So it gives you a little bit more to play with. It's not a necessity, it is just a little tech that I play just to get the most out of Herald and the most out of what you're sending. So basically you up your board one state by giving yourself a Macabre and a form of protection in hand. Now if you don't want this, then what you do is you keep the Alistair in hand, you send the Schism to the graveyard, you make El Shaddai Construct instead of Herald, and then you bring them back to your hand. So that is the other route as well, and it's entirely up to you. It's just a little tech of Saravas that, again, I shouted out in the profile that this came from Tom. Very, very good little tech. I just thought, it's a bit of fun. Let's get another alternative. So the final combo. Actually involves Alistair and Magician's Souls. Now, this is a little bit more luck-based in the sense of what you're going to draw, and you will need the rest of your hand to kind of help you do this. But the way this kind of works is you would activate Magician's Souls, send into the graveyard. I tend to send the Knighted because I play 3 of this, so it's a little bit more like, I don't mind sending it to the graveyard. I've got more copies of it. It's not as, I search it out consistently, so I've got no issues with that. You then normal summon your Alistair. Your Alistair, of course, will get you your invocation, as he always does, if you don't open up with it. There we go. Then you've got the light in graveyard already, so what you do have to do is you actually have to use your Alistair and go into the Almirage, and then use Almirage plus Magician's Souls, as they are both Cyverse, Fire, Dark, and Spellcaster. You can probably see where this is going. And you go into Alistair, the Invoker of Madness. Now, you will need a discard fodder for this one to keep this one going, but it does up your end board a little bit as well. So you activate the Invocation. The Invocation will, of course, banish the Alistair and banish the... where are you? The Knighted, because you've got those engraved. Let me just fix my grave, because it's a little bit messy with all the other search cards. Then what you're going to do is that is going to summon yourself out a Macabre. Where are you? There you go. That is then going to trigger Invoker of Madness effect. So you're going to discard this card effect, whatever card it is, doesn't really matter, and you're going to add yourself a Book of the Law. Now what this actually adds, remembering that you've got your other cards in hand, is this will actually allow you to, if you're going aggressive, it can tag Macabre into Purgatrio, or it can tag it into Origin, which is the other tech card that I kind of put in here to give a bit more disruption. So carrying on from here, of course, you would set the Book of the Law. Now, the rest of the hand then depends on how much further you can go. But the idea play is, if you had, for example, and we're just going to add this into the hand now, so it's a 3-card combo, if you had Disciple of Nadir, what this actually adds to your end board is about 2 forms of disruption. So you'd set the Book of the Law, you'd activate the Disciple of Nadir, and of course any stuff you've discarded off of Souls will also allow you to draw a little bit further as well. So you're going to activate Disciples of Nadir. That can send you the Apocalypse because you really want to get into the Schisms. There we go. And obviously you would have Invocationed and added Alistair back to your hand as well. So you do have easy discard for that. And you actually want this in the grave this time because, and I'll show you that exactly why. So we're going to activate Disciples. Servant is going to allow you to add your Ecclesia. And again, this gets better. If you've already got your Ecclesia, you search out your Maximus as your next step. And then what that allows you to do is your Ecclesia can actually search out your Punishment. And I love Punishment because it's technically a 2-card pop. So your Servant is going to add you your Ecclesia. Your Apocalypse is going to add you your Schisms, wherever it is. In the pile over here. There you go. And then you got your Schisms here. Now obviously Apocalypse is going to ask you to discard something, so you're going to discard the Alistair. Alistair is absolutely fine to be in the graveyard as long as you have discard fodder during your turn. This is the one risk of it, is you need to maintain hand advantage. So what you sacrifice in one area, you gain in another area. I'll explain that further in a minute. So you special summon out your Ecclesia. She will then add you the Maximus. You then special out the Maximus by banishing the Almirage. The Maximus will then send 2, so you're going to send the Herald and you're going to send the Titaniclad. Herald straight away is going to give you the Serapis. You're going to set your Schism. The Titaniclad is going to give you the Knighted during the end phase. So your set is Book of the Law, Schism. Your hand is Serapis and the Knighted. Now the way this works from here, it allows you to control your opponent in a different route. So and rather than overdoing it, if a Winder shuts your opponent down completely, what that then allows you to do is you can use Book of the Law to turn Macabre into a Origin or a Purgatrio. Now obviously the Purgatrio will then give you power play during the next turn. What that also then allows you to do is, because you fusion summoned, if you discard one of your cards in your hand, you get to add the Invocation. Now you already have Alistair in the graveyard. Your graveyard then will technically, after you have activated all the banish effect, will have a Dark in the graveyard with Alistair, with Herald of Arclight, which is another light, if you wanted to play a second Macabre. Or of course you've got Magician's Soul if you wanted to play Kaliga. Alternatively to that, the Book of the Law goes into Origin, like I said. So the idea is that you've got the Schisms, your Winder does enough to shut your opponent down. Now, ideally, you could just go Winder to a zone that Madness points to, and then you can trigger Madness's effect there, keeping your Macabre, just to get you an Invocation. So again, it allows you to play around certain abilities, certain boards as well, and it just gives you adaptability that you've got variant options that you can combo into. Now what I'm going to do, now that I've shown you this kind of like combo play and how it works, I think I'm going to save the test hands for a separate video because I don't want to clog this video down too much. I want to show you the profile, I want to explain why I've built it the way I have, and then I want to show you the combos that you can play with it to get you to wins. And even if you're not playing the Dogmatikas and you're going to be facing them, you now see what they're going to do to you. So you now know when to stop them, how to stop them, and kind of how to interact with them. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Until next time, guys, as absolutely always, happy dueling.